Hi again, and welcome back to the Book of Kings, Science, Nature, Man and God, the Circle of the Earth that deals with aftermath science. So what really is this book? This book is not a religious book. It's not a scientific book about nature. It deals with the four subjects of science, nature, man, and God, and how they developed in the United States of America, Western Europe, and where we came today. I explained earlier that the courts have basically embraced, along with the rest of the world, the evolutionary process by Darwin and some others, but for the most part, this is the history. This is a book that goes outside what the laws are saying currently. And because it's a history book and it deals with the truths of the people that were living in this country, what they believed, and some of the things that they believed, that is history. And so we should know what the history was, because as we get further and further away from what the country was basically founded on, there's always the denial process of the things that made the country great. So in my estimation, I think everybody should have a copy of the book because of the history. I think the schools and the libraries should have a copy of the book. And I also think as far as history, they should teach what that history is and not deny the things in our country that came about as a direct result of science, nature, man, and God, as we know it. And again, I completed it as one subject. It's not separate. They're all interconnected. And again, I'm a historian of historical origins that I studied and wrote about for 30 years. I said earlier when I kicked this thing off on the 4th of July this year, I said we're going to talk about Darwin, Freud. You know, these talks are only going to be probably maybe one more. But when we get in, let's look at Darwin, not Darwin, Einstein. That's what I want to talk about. Einstein. Here's the guy. You know, a lot of the science and things that we have, and the great mathematical genius that this gentleman was. What were his core beliefs? Like he's Jewish, Einstein, and he had a little belief on God, but it was a small belief. But really, when you think about it, here again we go. I mean, did he really recognize God as the author of all this stuff, the creator, the maker of the things that he was investigating out in outer space and here on Earth? Did he have the whole picture? He wrote about time elation, something like that, where time could accelerate based on the speed of, or decelerate rather, on the speed of certain things in his quest to understand things. So, in other words, the faster you went, the time could slow down or whatever. And I wrote a dissertation in the book, and you have to get the book because basically it's contradictory of what Einstein wrote about. And I'll just leave you with this one thought. We talked about the miraculous in this book. The same things that are happening here on Earth are basically happening out there Is there something really different? Could you really, slow time down because you're going faster? I mean, I don't know about that. I didn't make some dramatic study on the whole thing, but I would find fault with that idea. Just basically because time moves forward and nothing can stop time. And I go into some examples in the Bible maybe where time was stopped, but it wasn't by Einstein. It was actually stopped by God. There was a reverse in the Old Testament of the sundial under King Hezekiah. He's had a sickness, and he's pleading with God, and God reversed the shadow backwards or whatever, so on the steps. There was also the time of Moses, again, these are Old Testament things, where the sun was stayed from going down during a battle. So only God has the power to do that. And the final analysis is that there is such a thing as Judgment Day. Is that going to last 1 billion years? Judgment Day, or is it going to be one day? You think God needs science to make something for him work? Science is saying everything came about as a result of science, and they totally discount the unknown, the things they can't explain, and then they come up with theories. Their theories better than their theories based on faith of what they believe in their theory. And it's not provable. It isn't provable. I talked about something more than just faith, that, we have a chronological record of people. So is that faith? Or, are you saying they existed, we believe it by faith? No, it's a recording of it. So in that sense, it's not really faith. So Darwin, even though we have great things as a result of these great people, I was trying to show that he didn't have all the answers. Now we come to Freud. Here we go. The big sexual world that we live in, the sexual revolution that took place there in the 60s, where everybody, wanted to do their own thing. They wanted a big revolt against whatever the core things were. And it slowly was a big drag down of, society, and a revision back to things that were objectionable. They lacked the moral integrity of those things. And of course, as a result, the courts and everything else got involved in things that, legislating science again. These kinds of things where they're stopping people from, learning what would be good for them and so forth. So we're looking again at the law. The laws, Einstein had laws, gravity, all these other people down through the centuries came up with this, and these are laws. These are the physical laws of the planet that we live on. And those physical laws exist outside this planet too. There's nothing here that doesn't exist out there. There is some phenomenon, I suppose. Everybody's saying the black holes. Well, try to get near a black hole to see if it really is true. Well, you ain't going to get that close. And again, you're so far away, you're a bad witness. You got a super nice telescope and things that you can see out there. And everybody's things is sucking into this thing, right? Well, can you ever go out there and find out if it's true and then come back and say, yeah, that's what it is? Or is it basically two-dimensional? You're not getting a three-dimensional view out there. Generally, as a rule, you're not, unless maybe something's flying out there taking a picture. But you're getting a two-dimensional view from where you're at. That's it. You're seeing something head on and everything that's behind it. You know, the Milky Way with thousands of stars behind it and stuff, you know. And they're not close to each other. They're all spread out and everything else. So, you know, it becomes a little fuzzy. So when you start coming up with these theories that are going to, you know, scare the living whatever out of people, you know, that all of a sudden the world that we live in has no, you know, control. You know, God didn't create this world like that. You know, everybody's, oh, something's going to slam into the planet and kill everybody. And, you know, the dinosaurs died. No, the dinosaurs didn't die like that. There's no big, huge crater where the moon came out of. You know, come on. This is the stuff that's out there. You know, and unfortunately, I mean, you're stuck with these views. And it's an unfortunate thing again, because what if you're going down the wrong path? You know, my understanding is if you look at the moon, it was created to give light in the night. You know, it's a reflective stones and everything that reflects sunlight perfectly for your eyes. You know, it just happened. I mean, you know, all the craters, you know, the moon is really the elephant in the way out there. Something coming toward the earth has to, go by the moon or vice versa. I'm not saying things haven't hit the planet and there hasn't been some major thing, but for the most part, I don't think it's something that God wants us to worry about. Where you're going to worry about, oh, He created something. Well, no, on the relevance of God creating something good, that's it. So let's get back to the law. I was trying to interject something here. We have the laws of physics like gravity and all that, but there's other things too. Do you think when God created the world, that was the law? No, it was not. God came here to earth, and actually, He made Himself subject to His own laws. Why would God make a group of laws that, He's not going to be subject to? Do as I do and not as I say, or, that kind of thing. No, that's not true. He was born under Judaism, the Ten Commandments, Moses. Those laws and the laws of the physics, the Ten Commandments and those are the greater laws. The physical laws are the lesser laws. Sorry, that's true. And what happens when you break the laws, like the commandments and those kinds of things? Now you got a problem. Sometimes when that happens, then the things hit the heavens. The story of Sodom and Gomorrah, the great flood, things hitting the heavens and the heavens notwithstanding that. So if God created these things and He based it on the law, that shakes. It's not global warming that's going to destroy this planet. When you break it, and eventually the whole world comes apart at its seams. When there's violence in the streets, everything, it just goes nuts. That's because you're not living according to the law that God created and He had in mind when He was creating everything. So, do the heavens eventually fall apart at the seams and stars not holding their power and the sun and all those things that are spoken about in the Bible? Yes, that's going to happen. But it's going to stay. God's going to hold off until He's got His whole thing together. And these are the things that, again, this is history. These are the things that were mentioned of, or maybe I'm espousing of, but the fact of the matter is, I'm part of history. I'm part of that history too. I mean, don't deny me. I'll tell you a little bit about my history, just essentially. I'm a veteran. I fought for our country with a bunch of other soldiers. And nobody goes away unscathed. I don't care who you are. In a war, bad things happen. And whoever coined the phrase war is hell, well, they're right. It's a terrible thing to have to go to war. And everybody suffers. And even the people that are involved in the war, even if you think they're your enemy or whatever, at some point in time, I mean, are they really your enemy? Come on. You're going to buy their cars later or something, this is what happens. And of course, people make up and, after the damage is all done. But, I mean, that's just the way the world is. So based on the laws and the physics and those things, I've shown that they're not going to hold their strength, or maybe the reverse, or maybe they come 7 times brighter or hotter, or the water gets spoiled. I mean, these things are all written in the Bible for things that are going to come down upon the earth here. However, this is not something that you're going to be, God wants you to be worried about under those circumstances. So now let's talk about Freud a little bit. Who was this guy? I mean, the whole world. I mean, you think about us, we're all sexual beings, male, female. I mean, that's the way God created us. Sometimes people are not happy with their sexuality or the way they're made or something. Okay, I get it. Do I hate them? No. It's a terrible thing. You got to learn with whatever, how to get along with everything. So Freud, here's a guy that thought probably everything, and I'm just going to touch on this just for a little bit. He thought everything was related to sex. And for the most part, in a way, yeah, but there's something else about the human species. There's a conflict there's a war. These are historical origins of the things that I'm saying that are true, that were written about, people talked about. If you pick up an old 1910 Britannica encyclopedia, you see they wrote about God on every page just about, and all these people. So, no, I mean, we've come a long way to, remove a lot of that, so you're not going to find it. But anyway, so Freud, okay, it's a big deal, and it is a big deal, the human sexuality. The church wanted it in the confines of marriage, rather. So where's the war? What didn't Freud take into account on some level? He didn't take into account that we're basically in a spiritual battle here. Remember I said earlier, the natural man doesn't receive the things of God. But, so there's a war that's taking place. And there are people that, are celibate, and that's how you're supposed to live your life if you're not married, according to what the church teaches. I mean, this is what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to maintain your sanctity and everything. So that's one of the main issues, is that I don't think he took into the whole picture of the composite of what man is really made of. He's made up on the spiritual end too, which means that, are these psychiatrists today, are they at a loss, to what to tell people? Because now we live in such a political age, you don't want to come against anybody. You're just putting a little Band-Aid on something when you should be telling them, hey, don't do that if you think that's bad for you. the faith and morals and the things, so maybe you're not going to get that when you go talk to somebody and you're trying to tell them, they might say everything's good, just keep going in the same direction, but don't do it too much, or, I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. And again, I'm a historian, but I'm writing about the things that, people thought about and so forth. So we covered the law, basically, and we covered that I think the book should belong as a history section of your library, in the schools. You should be able to have recourse to other views other than what they're trying to do, and you should also have places that are going to allow the history of the things that I'm talking about. So it's very important for that. So at any rate, what can we do? Or what can you do? I suppose if you got a copy of the book, you could take it to your next PTA meeting and just say, hey, you got everything else going on about this, that, and the other. How, this is what we want our kids to know in your history class. Because they're not getting the history. They're getting a history devoid of what happened in this country. So can the court stop history? I don't think so. If it happened, it happened. You could stop, we don't want our kids to have, creation theory or any of that, but it doesn't fall under history category. Sorry. So when something's history, it's history. And I'm not saying I'm a theologian. I said I know about theology. I know about the law, too. I know about the law. I've done other things in my life. And that's a fact. I have a degree in, criminal stuff and, law enforcement. Did all that stuff. I know how people think and what you can expect. Well, anyway, I'll leave you here with this thought. It's not going to be a real long dissertation, and then I'll finish up with the next one that's coming up, and then that'll be the final. Then it'll be up to you whether you want to get the book or decide if you want to take it to the next level in your schools. Just think about that for a minute. If you're able to take it to your school and they can't stop you from having it or letting your kids learn about it, about the history of this country, and then, it's something you might want to pursue. It's your country. I'm just a historian here. I'm just pointing out a few things that you want to keep in place while you live here. So we open the door in the country for a lot of stuff. New people coming here, lots of other religious beliefs, and we're all neighbors. And for the people that come here, that weren't the original ones, like, from the Europe and all that, when I was talking about Spain, England, and they're coming here from other countries, they have to realize that if they're making this their home, then they should know a little bit about the people that were here too. And that includes me as the American Indians. What about those Indians that were here? They were great people as far as their relationship to science, nature, God, and man. They believed in the Holy Spirit, everything in nature. And we talked about that. There's a great reverence that comes from the Indian factor. And that's something that we should never, ever lose. And we should recognize the tribes and things that were here and try to help everybody so we all get along. There's nothing like a good Indian powwow if you've ever been to one. They're magnificent. They have beautiful customs, and just like any other ethnic group here, they came from some other place. They have great customs too. So that's part of the history too. So in the meantime, can we shorten a little bit? Love God, love your family, love your country. Yeah, love God and love your neighbor. We talked about the law. That's a dynamic duo. By fulfilling that, and everybody knows that's something I'm making up. If you're able to do that, then you're able to keep the whole law. Keep yourself out of trouble. So until the next time, I bid you a happy day ahead of you. Thank you.